Good morning. My name's Andy Beshear, and I'm honored to serve as Kentucky's 50th Attorney General. This job for me is certainly the job of a lifetime. Aside from being a dad of 2 young children, it gives me more purpose every day to get out of that bed and to do everything that I can during the day. So when I come home, maybe our Kentucky families are that much safer. And I know you all share that outlook, given what you do. I am so excited that you are here this morning. As we talk about the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world, as you know, there are so few resources in the Commonwealth of Kentucky and around the country being put forth to combat it. Well, we're changing that. We're changing that in this room. We're changing that in the Attorney General's office, and you are going to be changing it in your Commonwealth Attorney's office or in your law enforcement division. And so I hope you come away today empowered to find ways inside your organization to do everything we can to move from being way behind the curve on this issue to being in front of it, because as you all will see and as you know, the victims of these crimes need our help. They are some of the most abused, some of the most taken advantage of. They are the lost, the lonely, the left behind, and they need your help and they need my help. And many times it's very difficult to do, whether it's language barriers or whether it's folks that maybe don't know that they need help because of significant drug abuse or others forced upon them. But the training that you'll get here today, and I hope the continued training that you're going to get, will help us as a state step up and say, this is our responsibility, and we want to be a model around the country for how we take care of our own. I think that's a Kentucky value. So I wanted to be your Attorney General to better protect not only my family, but all Kentucky families. We do that every day in the AG's office by following a 4-part core mission. You'll never hear me speak without talking about it. First, preventing and prosecuting child abuse, which is where a lot of our focus on human trafficking comes. Second, better protecting our seniors from scams and abuse. Third, seeking justice for victims of rape and sexual assault, again ties in. And fourth, finding workable solutions to this drug epidemic that is ravaging each and every one of our communities in the Commonwealth. So to better address these priorities, and to provide the type of resources that I think the Attorney General's office needs to provide to you, we created a couple of new offices starting in January. First, we actually split an entire branch of the office out that we call the Family Branch, which specifically attacks issues related to our families and the threats to our family. I think if there's one thing a parent wakes up in thinking about each and every morning, it's the safety of their kids and their parents. That's what this branch does. It focuses on child abuse prevention, victims advocacy, and senior and consumer protection. And what we wanted to do is make sure that we put the resources into that branch that was needed to again provide that extra help, training, and then to fill whatever gaps we can that are out there in our law enforcement and in our prosecutions. And one of the number one gaps that we identified that you're here to address today is human trafficking. Human trafficking is unquestionably the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. It is in every single one of our counties, it's in every single one of our cities, and most people don't even know what it is. That's the challenge that's before us. The victims are most often the most marginalized of our population. Victims of abuse and violence, runaways, refugees, immigrants. They're coerced into submission by some of the most horrific acts and techniques that anyone has seen, whether it's forced dependence on drugs, significant violence, threats, or manipulation. The folks that we rescue from this industry are some of the most scarred based on what has happened to them, but when you do that, you give that person a real hope and shot at life. And our problem's getting worse. What we know in Kentucky is it's getting worse every year, part of which is our recognition of what it is. The statistics that are reported to the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and as you all know, all of these crimes are underreported. But human trafficking reports go up 50% year after year after year, every single year that we've done it. But very few of these end up getting significant criminal investigation, especially with the techniques that are necessary to lead to a successful prosecution. I think our statistics on both of those are unacceptable. And I think we need to accept that fact and really want to change it. We've worked hard with a number of you all in this room, and I'll point out LMPD as one great example, to start addressing this issue. In the week leading up to Derby alone, with the sting that we all put together, our office assisted with 28 human trafficking arrests, including the rescue of a 14-year-old girl. You want to talk about days that make everything you do in your office worth it? That rescue of a 14-year-old girl who had been through things that no one should ever have to go through. That could be my daughter, who's a little bit younger, or yours. Made every bit of effort that we've put in worth it. She's going to have a tough life. She is, with everything that she's been through. But she has a real shot at life thanks to the efforts that were put in by all of those organizations that were involved. Numbers are rising in Kentucky despite the fact that if used properly, we have some of the best human trafficking laws on the books. I know a lot of the time when we face crimes that are increasing, one of the issues is our laws are too far behind, drugs being one of the biggest examples. Well, in human trafficking, we currently have some of the best laws in the Commonwealth right now. We have safe harbor provisions. We have asset forfeiture provisions, depending on the arrest and the prosecution. And we have required screenings and treatment referrals for victims. In other words, our structure is in place. What it needs is our focus and our expertise. So we're working to enhance and improve the policy measures and training opportunities, as well as increase the resources and awareness that's available to you and to your community. Kentucky does require human trafficking training for law enforcement and prosecutors, but that's not enough alone. You're professionals, you all in every community, I know you need and you want more training. You got into this job to protect the people of your community. And I hope what we start here today, and I hope this is just a start, helps us all do that just a little bit better. Our office is striving to fill some gaps to give you some additional help. We're getting real-time case information not only from DCBS, but we're getting a call on every single referral from the National Human Trafficking Hotline. We're then reaching out to local law enforcement, to our prosecutors, and we are offering our resources, our time, anything that we can help you with at any time, day or night. Whether it's Allison Cox-Taylor, who talked to you, who is a prosecutor, whether it's John Moberly, who heads our Department of Criminal Investigations, we want to help. We don't want to step on toes. We don't want to take anybody's place. But we want to make sure that when you get one of these calls, especially those calls that turn out to be valid, that you have every process, resource, and technique you need available to us. We will be there with you every step of the way if you call. We're helping to provide real, tangible resources to fight human trafficking, and nationally, we're starting to see a recognition of the efforts here in Kentucky. So Kentucky just received the first Department of Justice human trafficking grant that's ever been given to our state. There are two groups that applied, the Office of Attorney General and Catholic Charities. It shows the importance of not only the law enforcement and the prosecution piece, but the services that go to these victims. It's a $1.5 million federal collaboration grant that's going to allow us here to hire who I think is or will be the first solely dedicated human trafficking investigator in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I hope that's a resource that you will use. It will provide Catholic Charities the opportunity to do more victim services for those folks that you run across that need it so terribly badly. And it's going to let us collect better data so that we can help you better focus your efforts on the areas and the populations that need your help. And we're traveling all over the state to educate anyone and everyone who will listen. If you feel like there's a training needed in your area, please call us. We talk to community members. We talk to PTAs. We talk to all folks who want to hear and learn. But we also try to focus on people who would likely see this and be able to make reports, especially to our local law enforcement. firefighters, EMTs, local health department, needle exchange program workers, environmental and safety code inspectors, and we will soon be announcing a really great partnership with our hotel industry in Kentucky. These are folks that want to help. They want to offer safe lodging and entertainment spaces, and you're going to find in the coming years that they want to work with you when they see the signs to make sure that they're protecting the folks that come in to their facilities. We're also going to be announcing, and have announced, but we're going to be pushing forth legislation with our trucking industry. Those of you that are on 65, 64, 71, 24 know that these are hot spots that traffickers target. We're excited to tell you that the industry and others connected to it are very, very interested in addressing this issue and doing all they can. And in the end, we want to make sure that we empower you. This training here today is something special. It is an offshoot of the National Association of Attorneys General, and it provides some of the best training in the most important topics all over the country. NAGTRI will provide longer and more advanced training for prosecutors and law enforcement this spring as a follow-up to this training. But I want you to know that the folks that are here today are experts in their field. They come in at no cost, generally to the Commonwealth, to make sure that we have the most state-of-the-art, the most updated techniques. And I think they're going to tell you that we're doing a lot right, but we're not spreading the word. We're not spreading the training. We've got the tools and we've got the ability to help the folks who need it the most. We've just got to learn how to do it, and then we've got to learn to put it in place. So if you take one last thing from me, I hope it's that thank God you're here. I mean it. Thank God you're here. You may be, in your role, the only lifeline between a child who's being trafficked and finding safety, or continuing a life of significant abuse. Thank God you chose to do the jobs that you do. Thank God you're here wanting to address this topic. I come at this from a parent. I've got a 7-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter, and I worry about them every single morning. Every single night after I put them down, I say a prayer that involves my kids, that involves two things. Number one, that the Lord allow me to be here to grow old enough to watch them grow up and raise their own successful family. And that number two, that He gives me and you, all of us, the strength to build the type of Commonwealth that they deserve, that your kids deserve. I think today and every day in your jobs, you do just that. Thank you all so much for being here.